Thank you for not barfing on air.
I know that you want to. I know you want to shut the lights off and crawl under a blanket right now and just go to sleep. So,
very much appreciated. Thank you. No, you know it's fun. It's a strange thing because as a child growing up, not many people that I knew suffered from migraines, but I was one of them. And as I've met more people in the paranormal field, I realized that so many of us suffer from some sort of headache that's either a migraine or just a really bad headache at least a couple times a week, if not, more than that. And it's almost like that's how we're like chose. I can't think of the word, like pointed out, like we have headaches because we're a little more sensitive.
We're targeted,
Yeah, targeted.
Like
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that we get targeted. I do believe that, I mean, God, for just the simple fact that we're open and in tune to knowing that there's something else going on, and that, so many other people just don't even care to think about it.
Well, not even that they don't care, but there are so many people that don't really believe it. So they think, oh, well, I've seen the shows, and you talk about it all the time, but yeah, right. Yeah. Unless it, like, appears and slaps me in the face or, talks to me, I'm not going to believe it. So it doesn't matter.
I believe that a lot of people who say they don't believe choose to not believe because they're afraid. They don't want to know because they're afraid of what they're going to find out.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, I mean, and I know you can probably go with this too, Keith, inevitably you have a conversation and somebody says, oh, what do you do? And you say, oh, I'm a paranormal investigator, or, I'm a demonologist, or however. I don't know if that's how you open a conversation, but, hey, I'm a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I don't believe in it. But listen, my sister, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Yeah. They all have a story.
Or there are people that are strictly scientific, and they go, if I can't see it, touch it, smell it, feel it, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
So it just depends on.
Yeah, and again, thank you for battling through the migraine and getting through all the roadblocks.
I know, the poor guy is like, can I just please go to sleep?
We've got a little bit of time left. We have about 10 minutes or so left here. So why don't we wrap things up here and talk a little bit about something that I know is probably very important to you. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people have seen The Conjuring or heard the story of The Conjuring. And this is a case that you actually are very close to and involved with. Can you tell us a little bit about, fact versus fiction here in the true story of The Conjuring, and opposed to what people watch on Hollywood and believe?
Well, yes, you're very right. It was based on an actual event, based on a true story. What happened was that, of course, this goes back to the 70s again, and I was a member of PIRO, which is Parapsychological Investigation and Research Organization, based at Rhode Island College. That was the first actual paranormal group that my brother and I belonged to. And again, there was no internet at the time, so I put a little ad in a local paper advertising our services, and it was answered 3 weeks later. And it was answered by a family in Harrisville, Rhode Island, the Boroughville section of Rhode Island, and this family had moved into an 18th century house. It's actually dating 1736 is when the house was first built. And they had moved in there. A number of bizarre things had happened. It didn't start as terrifying right away. The children were seeing spirits. There was, of course, they had the Perrin family had 5 daughters, and the young girls were seeing a spirit of a man they called Manny because they didn't know his name. And it was just every day to them. Yes, we share spirits, but then there was at least one spirit in particular that was very, very malicious and started preying upon this family. Now, in situations like this where it's an extreme haunting, usually one person, it will affect obviously a whole family, but one person in particular will be targeted, and that was the mother, Carolyn Perrin, started being targeted. Bizarre, terrible things started happening to her, but it was personal. It was meant very personally. She had just come out of a bath once, and she was in what they call the warm room, drying off. All of a sudden, a coat hanger leapt off by itself off the rack and started whacking her in the head.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was terrifying. She was peeling an orange once, and suddenly blood spurted out of the orange, and she thought she had cut herself, but she looked and she hadn't cut herself, and she actually went into a somnambulistic state. She almost passed out as a result of that. Blood was flowing all over the place, and she was in the barn once, and a sickle came down, spiraling down, just missed her head, and so she was really, really being targeted. So we agreed that we would come to that house and investigate. And of course, this was our first major in-home case, and talking about going right into the trenches there. It's we found out that this was very, very real, a very, very terrifying situation. As soon as we set foot on that property, you could just feel the energy, the negative energy. It was like a block there, something was a force field. And there was a rumor that somebody had hanged themselves in a nearby barn. And
yes,
it turned out that was true, that somebody had, actually an elderly woman had hanged herself. And so it's just terrible. Of course, the daughters took me on. We've got to show Keith all our property, and they took me on a field trip and everything. But when we got back to the house, you felt that again. My brother went upstairs, and he felt something was not right there. He looked down the hallway. There's this black cloud coming right towards him, floating right towards him. And it dissipated just before it got to him. I went upstairs. The girls took me upstairs and told me how frightened they were to be in this particular bedroom. And of course, I said, "Well, what is do you have any religious?" They said, "Oh yes, we're Catholic. We believe in God." And so I told them, "Well, try calling upon the name of Jesus." As soon as I said that, that's all pandemonium took place. You could cut this atmosphere with a knife. It's what we sometimes refer to as a bubble, and I know the daughters referred to it as a bubble. You were surrounded, so it was almost suffocating. And an electric charge. It was just like an electric charge. And as soon as I said the name of Jesus, a window slammed shut. The girls were screaming. One of the girls was slapped so violently aside the head by an unseen hand, she went careening off the bed. And she was actually slapped on the left side of the head. Now, that happens to be a sign of these very negative spirits. They'll come in from the left. That's one of their calling cards. So I prayed with them. I called upon the name of Jesus twice more, and it stopped. It just stopped, and you could tell, you felt this peace come over the room. And it didn't leave the house, of course, but it did leave that room. And I was a teenager myself at the time. I was 18 years old. So we went downstairs, and we told the family, we promised we're not going to abandon you. And you could just see the peace in the family's face when we told them that. The eldest daughter, who was Andrea, who was 15 years old at the time, she had to go downstairs to get some preserves, and she asked me, would you please come with me, Keith? And I did. While we were down there, you could feel that suffocating feeling again. You knew something was down there. So I took her hand and prayed. I rebuked the spirit, and it was gone. It stopped. So we went back upstairs. Shortly after our visit that night, Carolyn Perrin was awakened about 5 o'clock in the morning, and she felt something was wrong in the room. She smelled this stench of decaying flesh, and it was very, very cold in there. She looked over, and there's this spirit form hovering over her bed, and it's of an elderly woman, and the neck was broken. You could tell because the head was hanging onto one side, and it just had these claw-like broken bones for fingers, and it started saying this terrible chant to her, I'll drive you mad with death and gloom, I'll drive you mad with fiery brooms, I'll drive you out, but 'twill be too late because you'll be dead. And then it just disappeared. And naturally, she was so terrified. She just felt so helpless. And Carolyn was a plantation Georgia woman, and she had never dealt with something like this. And so she was at her wit's end, and we told her. She called us and told us what had happened. And our chairperson, Donna, was the chairperson of our group, told her, I'm going to call our friends Ed and Lorraine Warren and get them involved. I'm going to get their advice. And so Ed and Lorraine Warren actually did more than just advise. They actually became physically involved with this. And they came down and they investigated along with us in the house. And they said, this is going to be a co-investigation. We're going to do this together. We're going to help this family. So we're so delighted to have the Warrens on our side. And they were there one day, and they told the family, I'm sorry, you can't have Pyro back anymore. We have to work on this on our own. And so that ended our involvement in the case right there. But Of course, it did go on for some time, and it wound up. A séance was held at the house. A séance was held, and Lorraine Warren were present, and Carolyn went into full possession, and it was just terrifying. She doesn't even remember all of that. It was so traumatic. It took years for this to rectify itself, but the family did stay there 10 years. It did lessen somewhat. They still saw the spirits, but they finally moved out 10 years later because Carolyn said, "I love this house, but if I stay here one winter more, I will not survive." So, of course, I'm still in touch with the family. Andrea and I are dear friends. We're like brother and sister, and it's really the actual real situation was more horrifying than the movie portrayed. And one reason is that because it just took so long. It was over a decade that they were experiencing these things. Even before they moved into the house, they got warnings about this. So, it was quite a horrific situation for them and for us too.
Oh my gosh. I can't even. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying. I think for the general audience, the movie did not a bad job of portraying how horrible it was for the family. Even though they did it in a span of like weeks, they made it look like it was in a span of weeks. Yeah. But for the most part, compared to other movies that have come out and tried to tell stories of true stories of other people's experiences, I think that did the most justice. Yeah. In my eyes, anyway. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it took 10 years for this to happen, and they went through a lot of different things.
Right.
They went through a ton of different things.
Right.
But
but if you
and it brought attention to the story.
But one of the things that you watch if you watch the movie is it cuts pyro completely out of it and has.
Well,
goes directly to.
But that's why I said the general audience because the average person can't sit for that long.
Yeah.
And watch a movie. Right. They want blood and gore and ghosts coming out of walls and Jason Voorhees. Yeah. That's what.
Right.
Well, this is one of the things I like about what we do. At least when I say I'm not talking about the investigating portion. I'm talking about being able to come on and have our show and be able to give people like Keith the opportunity to tell a true story and fill in the blanks maybe, if you will, as to what Hollywood would leave out on certain topics.
Right.
And I mean, we've only got like another minute or so, but we appreciate your time on here tonight and diving a little deeper into demonology and maybe opening up some more minds about angelology.
We should have Keith on again.
I would like that, and I hope Keith would like that.
Yeah, sure.
Migraine free.
Yeah, we hope so. Migraine free, and of course the atmosphere is in New England at this time of year is so humid, and that's conducive to migraines as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. But please go rest up, drink lots of water, get some good sleep tonight, and
tell them to go away and let you sleep.
Right, exactly.
But why don't you before you run away, since literally we have like about a minute, why don't you tell everybody your website and anything that you might be appearing at anytime soon.
Okay, my website is Near Paranormal, www.nearparanormal.com. We're very easy to find, very easy to navigate. You can find us there very easily. And also, Sandra and I will be appearing at the Ocean State Paracon, and that's in Harrisville, Rhode Island. That is less than a mile away from the actual Conjuring situation, the true story. It's right on the big river there. They have a beautiful dam there at the Assembly Theater in Harrisville, Rhode Island. That's going to be on July 18th and 19th of this year, this July, and Andrea will be there, Andrea Perrin, Sandra and I, and John Zaffis, a host of others, and so we're very much looking forward to that. That's like a homecoming to us.
Well, good. We'll see you there then.
Okay, I hope so. I hope to see you there. I really do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Keith. We very much appreciate you coming on tonight.
God bless you. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Take care.
That was Keith Johnson from Near Paranormal.
Poor guy's got like a vice.
I know.
Pushing his head together.
So bad. Anyway, thank you all for listening tonight. We're out of time as usual.
Yeah, the little British woman is saying goodbye.
Catch Tiffany Beth with Drinks with Tiff right after our show.
And then
drink Dudley Grounds Coffee, dudleygroundscoffee.com, and
Aliens, UFOs, and Beyond, Christina George at 9. Woo!
Night, everybody.